rabbit hole.
No. You're terrified. You're a hypocrite.
What?
Are there jokes you can make about Islam? Muhammad banged a little girl, right?
I'm really baffled.
Come on. You're terrified of this subject. I'm not.
No, I'm not.
In today's video, far-right commentator Tim Poole hosted comedian and commentator Adam Conover for an extended discussion that lasted over 2 hours. If you're interested in that full debate, that's available on Tim's channel. However, I just want to focus specifically on the segment where the two tackled the issue of free speech. Let's watch the exchange, then I'll get right into the breakdown.
Why won't you go to the UK and make jokes about Islam?
I don't think it's very funny. I don't have any jokes about it. I'm so confused. Dude.
Okay, let me help unconfuse you. Are there jokes that can be made about Islam? Yes or no?
Wait, I don't want to. I don't want to go to this particular rabbit hole.
No. You're terrified. You're a hypocrite.
What?
Are there jokes you can make about Islam? Muhammad banged a little girl, right?
I'm really baffled.
Come on. You're terrified of this subject. I'm not.
No, I'm not.
In the UK, you can be jailed for making jokes about Islam or even bring up the grooming gangs. There are people who go online and pointed out that a stabbing was carried out by a Muslim, and they got arrested for it. I'll bet you $1,000 you will not go to the UK and make a joke about any of that stuff, because you will not go to a foreign country and, in violation of their laws, speak out against what they've said not to speak out against. Do it. I dare you. $10,000. Cash in your pocket if you go to the UK and make a joke about Muhammad having a 12-year-old wife.
This we got here faster than I thought we would in this conversation. Where you're shouting at me about something I don't understand. I don't really understand how you would think it's incumbent upon me.
Do you think anybody watching this right now thinks you are confused by the notion that in the UK you go to jail for mocking Islam?
I don't understand how we got onto you shouting at me about Islam specifically. I'd like to return to
it's because you said people should be allowed to come to this country and speak out against it. And you said you're a comedian and you go to other countries, right? And you said you go to the UK. And I said, okay, if you go to the UK, speak out in violation of their laws and see what happens. And you said, I'm confused. I don't understand. What don't you understand?
Hey, you there. If you guys like this video, please consider subscribing, dropping a like, and maybe commenting. This really boosts the video in the YouTube algorithm, and we would like to spread this message to as many people as possible. Let's get back to the video.
Will you go to Turkey? Will you go to Turkey and speak out against Islam?
I mean, if I have a joke to make, sure. I don't have a joke about those particular topics.
You would.
I would.
You're saying if you had a joke about.
Oh, yeah. Sure. I would try to do the best I can. I always try to poke the bear as much as I can. It's part of the job of a comedian.
Because as it pertains to one of the world's largest religions. I mean, come on.
I mean, I haven't written a joke about that recently.
All right.
So look, hey man, I'm a free speech guy, right? I think that something that's nice about America is that we're a country that has that value, and that we don't generally think that you should be tossed into a van and kicked out of the country for expressing an opinion. I think that it is a change. I think it's a change in America to most people around the world to feel that, oh, wait, if I go to America and I express a mild opinion about their foreign policy in my own student paper, or maybe on a stage or maybe somewhere else, I could be, without any warning to me, accosted by 6 people on the street, thrown into a van, and taken out of the country.
Oh, come on,
right?
accosted.
Oh, let me finish. I think that's a strain. I think that's a new idea for a lot of people, that America is that type of country. I think that Donald Trump's purpose is to turn America into that type of country. I think that that's bad. I think it makes the country smaller. I think it makes the country worse. I think it's a violation of most of the values that I grew up with as an American. And that's my view of what's happening in the country. Now, if you want to say, hey, I don't like free speech for foreign nationals who are in the country who express mild opinions about other countries' foreign wars, then that's your prerogative. It's a big difference between us that you don't like free speech in that way.
I mean, that's loaded language, right?
Yeah, all the language you're using is pretty loaded.
Well, you keep using adjectives to describe things to diminish one thing while exacerbate or exaggerate something else.
I do use the English language to express my thoughts and opinions. Yeah,
but it's straw manning. It's not a legitimate attack of the ideas, right? So accosted on the street. Come on. She was arrested. Okay. She was arrested by a relatively large group of men compared to what a normal arrest would require, which I think they didn't need to do and was silly. So we can say she was arrested by several men, unmarked or plain clothes, which didn't need to happen. But I don't need to say like she was accosted by men on the street and like it was about a mild opinion. It's like, okay, listen, the facts of the case, like I said, I don't like the idea that people come to this country and then try and tell us how to live our lives.
You're not for free speech. I understand.
I think American citizens have self-determination and sovereignty. And I will say this even of the Canadians who keep coming here and they keep getting involved in our politics. I'm friends with some of them, but I think it's fair to say that there is an issue with Canadians, largely conservatives, who come to this country and then start advocating for conservative values in a country they're not from. So, to be fair, there are liberals Canadians who do it too. I find it to be silly. That being said, Canada as a bordering nation with a largely overlapping culture is a morally different question, but still applies in much the same way principally. So I do take issue with foreigners coming to my country.
It's a nice white country, so we like it.
Canada's, they call it what, the most multicultural country in the world, I think. Mm-hmm. They big on immigration. I think Toronto is considered to be the most multicultural city in the world.
It's a revealing exchange. Tim, like many right-leaning figures, champions the U.S. as the freest nation on earth, yet paradoxically invokes examples of speech restrictions in other countries to justify potential limits here. He challenges Adam with a rhetorical jab: go to the UK and make jokes about Islam, implying that doing so would lead to legal trouble abroad. But Adam's job isn't to antagonize foreign audiences. He's a comedian, not an activist on tour. Tim's call to action isn't really equating to the point he's trying to get across. The bigger issue is the inconsistency in Tim's logic. If America truly is the global standard for liberty, shouldn't we hold ourselves to a higher threshold of speech protection than countries with more limitations? Rather than argue for stronger rights here at home, Tim seems content with matching the restrictions seen elsewhere. It's a contradiction that undercuts his entire premise.
Yeah.
So Canada actually is, you can call it a nice white country. That's technically the truth, but it also is very, very much in favor of immigration and diversity and all these things, largely what many of the conservatives who come here are speaking out against. But without, you know,
this is a country where if you're from another country and you're in America, don't say anything about our politics, or you could be forcibly removed from the country. You're comfortable with America being that kind of country. That's something that's like that's a value of yours. Those are your values.
See, you're doing it again.
No, I'm trying to understand what you actually believe.
Yeah, I'd say marginally it's a good,
because I think that's a point of distinction. Like it's useful in a conversation like this to be like, okay, I have my value, you have your value, and my value is like, I really like it when people say what the fuck they think about any country's politics.
We can simplify it. My value would just be, to whatever mathematical degree, American sovereignty supersedes the right of foreigners to speak about our policies.
But in this case,
that's just my value.
So you think that literally any time America is exercising its sovereignty, that's like a good thing in that particular case? Like, because
what does that mean?
Like,
you're a guest in with all due respect, I think I said it like 6-7 times. You're a guest in our country. Adhere to the rules. That's it. That includes conservative Canadians, conservative Brits. That's Carl Benjamin. That's Paul Joseph Watson. That's Viva Fry. That's Seth Rogen. And it's also
so all those people should not speak about American national interests, like the Suez Canal. We shouldn't say the Panama Canal, or like is Puerto Rico a state or not? They should not speak about American politics.
You can speak about what you want, but speech has consequences.
I mean, okay, so we can move on. I'll say, to me, that's a radically different America than I thought I grew up in. And I think it's fucked up that we're becoming that kind of country. I think it's really bad.
Think that's true.
Yeah, you don't believe I think that's true?
Well, I mean, I suppose
like what I just said, I believe, you're like, you don't believe that.
Well, because if we go back several administrations, that's not been the case ever. I mean, look at New York in the 2000s when the Bush administration rounded people up. And, well, I'm sorry, it wasn't Bush, during the Bush years, and they put 200 people in like a bus. They locked them in a bus cage.
Yeah, that was bad.
That's the country you grew up in. The idea that these things haven't been happening. George Carlin got arrested for swearing. We had blasphemy laws on the book.
Yeah, and it was bad. And then we said, we shouldn't do that anymore.
And it never changed. The idea that you think you grew up in a nation where you could say whatever you wanted is an absurdity. George Carlin went to jail for swearing.
And that was good, you think?
No, it wasn't.
And you think it's good that Rumeysa Öztürk is being forced into the country.
Citizen. So she's on a conditional visa as conditioned by the INA and the existing administration and the will of the voters.
Okay, but you're arguing.
No. My argument is,
you're arguing that Öztürk's deportation makes sense because George Carlin was arrested for swearing.
No, you said I grew up in a country with free speech, and I said no, you did not. And it's never been true.
And you're like, okay, you're right. So under your view, America is a country that doesn't have free speech, never had free speech.
Yes,
and that's a good thing.
No,
because we're exercising our sovereignty.
No.
Okay, but you think it's a good thing that Rumeysa Öztürk doesn't have free speech?
You understand the distinction between a non-citizen here on a conditional visa and an American citizen being arrested for swearing?
I understand that there's a distinction. I don't think that either of those people should be treated differently in that case.
Let me say this.
I don't agree with you, man.
This country has never had free speech.
Okay, I think
it's a fact. When the founding fathers finalized the Constitution,
do you think we should have free speech?
Yes, but there are limits on what free speech is based on the moral worldview of the individual argument. For instance, do you believe someone should be allowed to direct someone to commit a violent crime?
That's not the moral worldview of an argument. That is the effect of the speech. So you think that whether you have free speech should be your words should be based on the moral worldview of the argument.
So to understand your view of what free speech means, I'm asking you a question.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody says explicitly, you right now commit crime to that person, is that free speech?
Someone says you right now commit crime to that person, and what do they do it?
Yes.
I mean, I guess I'm not a free speech scholar, but that is, there's probably be legal consequences for that free speech.
It is illegal to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think someone should be able to yell fire in a crowded theater?
I mean, this is the canonical example of a speech that's not free speech. So.
It actually is. That's Brandenburg v. Ohio. It is, in fact, legal speech. I don't think people should. I understand the Supreme Court's ruling on that issue. The challenge with free speech, let's go back to the beginning of this country. Blasphemy laws were on the books after they even had the First Amendment. They literally said you can't blaspheme. We would say that's not free speech, but how did you have a First Amendment if you arrested people for blaspheming? My point is, and this is an anarchist philosophy, the laws of the country are dictated by those with the power to enforce it. That's why it used to be illegal to put a pie on your windowsill, but even though it's still illegal, nobody arrests you for it. So free speech does change throughout the generations.
Of course.
We never grew up in an era, we never had a time in our lives where you had true free speech the way the absolutists want it to be.
Yeah, I'm talking about the story that we tell about ourselves as a country, man. I'm talking about
that's not true.
I'm talking about the values that we have collectively as people. And of course, those are always changing a little bit and people are trying to pull them in one direction or another.
Split in half.
I would have thought, that I don't know that much about you. I know you're very involved with Occupy and stuff like that and protest movements, which I think is cool work. I would have thought that a student writing an op-ed about another country's war and her own institution's support for it, vis-a-vis our country's foreign policy would be the kind of thing that you would think is a sort of free speech that we should value. That is the kind of free speech that I think, I personally think a lot of the idea of America is built upon. I think it's one of the good things about the country, that this is a country where you can come here and you can express your opinion mildly in the newspaper.
What happened at Kent State?
And I think Kent State was bad.
My point is, there's things we wish America was, but I kind of feel like a non-citizen.
But this one you said you think is good. You're not sitting here going, man, yeah, that's a bummer.
She got deported, dude. What are you talking about? She didn't get shot in the face. A conditional visa was revoked. I'm not crying about it. I don't care.
I mean, I think she cares. I think her family cares. I think the people of her university care. I think
change the law, man. This is a marginal issue for a single person who was in violation of the INA as it's enforced by a government that was elected by a popular majority, or I should say by a plurality, but the popular vote.
The heart of the issue is that Tim Poole projects a level of intellectual authority that he doesn't always back up with substance. Like many in his ideological camp, he expresses a high degree of confidence even when his conclusions are shaky at best. There can be some ground to stand on with his claims, some of his claims anyways, but it seems like he's having trouble landing on that ground. This blend of overconfidence and flawed logic is not only frustrating, but it's dangerous when paired with an audience that may not question it. One example is his dismissal of a foreign student being deported for expressing dissent. He waves it off as unimportant, yet he continues to offer sweeping opinions about what freedom of speech should mean. In the context of free speech, the deportation of a protesting student is pretty damn close to the heart of the topic, don't you think? What Adam Conover could have pressed harder on is this, though. What if the same thing happened to an American student? Suppose someone born and raised in Ohio wrote an op-ed criticizing U.S. foreign policy and was then arrested. Would Tim still be fine with that? Because he argues that America has never truly had free speech and bizarrely sees that as acceptable or even good. Adam rightly points out that our history has included dark chapters like the McCarthy era, where people were blacklisted merely for being accused of leftist beliefs. It's telling that Tim, had he been around back then, might have sided with the purgers rather than the purged. Thankfully, we're moving forward since those days. And while private consequences for speech, like losing followers or being dropped by a network, can feel stifling, they're not First Amendment violations. Free speech protects you from government repression, not public backlash. But this is a distinction many conservatives, and even some leftists, blur when lamenting so-called cancel culture. Anyway, the full segment on speech between Tim and Adam runs over 25 minutes, and their full conversation is over 2 hours. So if you're curious, you can watch the rest over on their channel. Let me know where you guys land. Do you agree more with Tim's take or with Adam's pushback? That's a wrap from Eat the Narrative, where truth isn't polished, it's weaponized. If you guys enjoyed today's content, please drop a like, leave a comment, and consider subscribing. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.